Ori and the Blind Forest was released on Xbox One and Windows in 2015, later ported to the Switch in 2019. The game was developed by Moon Studios, who have only developed Ori and the Blind Forest as well as Ori and the Will of the Wisps at this time of recording. It is a 2D platformer and it is based on a small character who is hard to see, which makes it hard to see hazards sometimes, or the character itself, as there's some bright lights that block what's going on screen, and it looks like you're collecting smelly socks. You come across these trees and they give you special abilities like wall jumps. You progress the game by doing this. You earn these orange orbs and they give you ability points, and when you get one it looks like an explosion goes off that looks like you've been hurt, but you can spend these ability points on things like powering up your attacks, which is arguably the most important one, as the enemies get tougher as you progress through the game, and this game is as hard as nails, so you need all the help you can get. I also like the middle branch of abilities that you got that show you where things are, like ability points, which is quite useful because you want to get as many of these as possible. There's no autosave in this game. You have to collect these blue orbs and use one to save the game, and at the start you think you can only hold one, and it takes a while to find all of them. They're actually quite hard to find. Sometimes you have to choose when to save, but at the same time you have to balance when you want to save, because if you save too soon you may have to get through a long part of the game before you get another blue orb to save the game, but if you leave it too late you may die and lose a lot of progress and have to start all over again. And also the enemies respawn as well, so if you leave an area and then go back like a minute later, the enemies will be back where they were originally. Your health, which looks like cabbages, depletes very quickly. You can extend your life, but again it's very difficult to do. Very old school difficulty. You will die a lot in this game. Pixel perfect platforming. It will take a while to get used to this. If you've played Super Meat Boy you know what to expect. The only difference is Super Meat Boy was made up of a lot of small levels. This is more of a Metroidvania open world 2D game. Arguably it's not as difficult as Super Meat Boy, but it's still pretty challenging. The graphics, as well as looking pretty, they are layered into 3 categories: the foreground, the midground, which is where your character is, in the background, and sometimes you'll occasionally see like a character watching from the foreground. It's all animated surprisingly well. You need to make sure to create a save point at the right time. I find even when you do this, when you die you keep having to play the same part over and over because you end up dying a lot, and this is a bit tedious. I would have liked it if the game had autosave, like as soon as you die just spawn where you died, but maybe this would have been too hard to do, or maybe they just wanted that old school feel. There is some brain taxing puzzles, often while under stress. It's hard enough doing the platforming. Like I prefer if you get to the puzzle section, like not having to worry about enemies attacking you, but it's a very small nitpick. I also make a save point after a cutscene if I can, because if you die you have to watch that cutscene over and over again every time you die, and this gets really irritating, so just keep that in mind. As you progress through the game you unlock more power-ups which will help you traverse areas more quickly, like you're able to bounce yourself off projectiles and able to climb up walls. So if the game's going a bit slow for you, don't worry, you can traverse areas faster when you get further through the game. There's a beautiful watercolor art style which is the main selling point of the game really. It has vibrant colors, has a lot of different enemies in the game with their own animations, and it makes the world feel alive, and sometimes the environments change as well. At the same time it all seems connected. The graphics and gameplay were inspired by Ubisoft's Rayman Legends. The story reminded me of Lion King, and of course it is in a Metroidvania style of game. The developers prided themselves on the game running at 1080p with constant 60 frames per second, which is great. Very rare did I see a frame drop. There was rare occasions. This game really needs to run at 60 frames per second because of the pixel perfect jumping, and also has minimum loading times as well, which is a plus. Very small nitpick is I would have to repress buttons sometimes. Like if I was gliding I got stopped and I was still holding the button and I jumped off an edge, it wouldn't pick up the input until I pressed the button again, which is a little annoying in like a fast-paced session, but maybe they didn't do this because they were afraid that was going to mess up people's timing. The story is simple yet touching. It wasn't cheesy. It was pretty dark. The game's not suitable for kids anyway because of the difficulty, but the story's a bit of a dark reality of the cruelness of nature. It's definitely an adult game. The character Ori is referred to as they, which I'm not sure if they're trying to be woke. The developers said it can be anyone you want to be. It's like, this felt it was something they didn't need to do. The story is Ori, who is a white guardian spirit, falls from a tree. They are adopted by Naru, who ends up being the adopted mother. Later, the forest withers and Naru somehow dies of starvation, even though she's as fat as fuck. Anyway, what would I give the game? Of course, I give the game a full S rank. It definitely deserves that rank. I'm not the only one that thinks this way. A lot of people online share this opinion, and for good reason. If you love Super Meat Boy, you will love this game too. It's really painted in the same vein. It's not the same as Super Meat Boy, but it definitely is a good competitor to that game. If you like old school difficulty, you definitely should check it out. And the sequel looks pretty good too. Hello guys, hope you're having a fantastic day. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more videos. Bye!